We dive in, let's start with a small introduction. So if you would see this on a dashboard, 10 hours, what could it mean? Could be maybe, the number of working hours that I did yesterday, or the number of hours that I spent in a bar drinking Guinness. It could be the hours of rain that we're getting today in Ireland. But it could also be, for example, the remaining useful lifetime or the uptime of a certain equipment that you have. Or, as the image on the left is giving away, it might be the time that it takes to charge a certain battery. So, if you look at this, is it normal? Is it abnormal? It doesn't really get very apparent. But say, if it mentions 15% increase from previous week, then it might look like, that's strange. Suddenly, in 1 week, the charging time of my battery is increasing by 15%. Then there might be something fishy going on. So, what we're actually wanting to say is that even when starting from a basic information like a 10 hours charging time, by adding analytics on top of it, moving from data into insights, by getting some more descriptive insights or diagnostic insights, you're adding more value to it. And in the end, inspiring action. Because that 15% increase in battery charging time might mean that if it's continuing for the next week and the next week and the next week, at some point it might impact the process of the customer that you're serving. So in that sense, you're really inspiring action out of it. Of course, when we look at the current days, there's a lot of buzz and hype around AI, and I want to warn you that in this presentation, we're not going into very much detail into AI. Just the presentation afterwards, some of the ecosystem partners from IBM, together with some of our Cumulocity colleagues, will really touch base on the topic of AI. But for this presentation, we really want to start with, let's say, the basics. And how can you, in a very easy way, by leveraging out-of-the-box capabilities of Cumulocity, derive value from the data that you're getting. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to walk you through a case study from a company called PowerCo. PowerCo is a smart equipment manufacturer. They are a manufacturer of portable power stations, and not just for consumer businesses, but their customers are really large-scale construction companies with a whole fleet of those portable power stations. And they want to, and so PowerCo wants to give their customers insights into where are my portable power stations located, what's the utilization, etc., etc. And of course, it's where Cumulocity today comes in to give that kind of insights very much out of the box towards PowerCo. What we are zooming in today on is a challenge that they're currently facing, because recently they have been their field service engineers have been reporting unsatisfied customers who are claiming that the power stations that they're using in their processes are draining much faster than they're used to. So the question is, from a PowerCo perspective, what can we do about this? So of course, when you think about that, the typical, or let's say the most logical first step to do is you visualize that data. And so there, of course, with Cumulocity, it's very easy with the cockpit application to visualize that raw data and to have a view on all of the raw data which is coming from the connected PowerCo devices. And so for each and every single one of the devices, you can have a look, you can build such a dashboard which gives you the health status, the current status, the level of charging. You can create those kind of graphs to see how it's charging and discharging over time. Of course, like I mentioned, one of the use cases is the localization, the tracking of those devices. So that's very easy. But of course, from a PowerCo perspective, if I now want to investigate this across the whole fleet of devices that I have out there, it becomes a very tedious task. Because if you think about, you start at your typical IoT approaches, you connect your devices, you observe what's going on, and then you react if you see something going wrong. But of course, there's an entire fleet of devices out there. If you want someone to be actively monitoring on all of those devices, understand what's going wrong, and then take a corrective action, that's not a very scalable approach from a PowerCo perspective. So in that sense, what you rather want, rather than manual monitoring, is a kind of system which is always on monitoring. And it's basically one of the first hidden power of analytics that we want to introduce you today. And so where analytics can really turn that raw machine data that you're getting from your connected devices and turn that into actionable insights and notifications. And based on that, drive actions at the right time whenever it's needed. It's interesting for PowerCo to act. So Rob, do you want to give the audience a bit more insights into how PowerCo did that with the Cumulocity IoT platform?
I would love to, Nick. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Okay, so the challenge is to give more insights into what's going on with these batteries and the power units. One of the techniques we're going to use for this is streaming analytics. Now, streaming analytics is a separate app inside Cumulocity, but it's a catch-all for a bunch of capabilities that allow you to act on the data in real time, allow you to monitor what's going on and take actions. I think most people will have used smart rules, but there's a whole bunch of use cases that I wanted to just make sure you're aware of where people use streaming analytics. So, most common, I would call out aggregation and condition monitoring. So aggregation is a really common use case where you're looking at the data coming off a device, and you don't need all of it. You just want to aggregate it over a 5-second time window, so you've just got a steady, smoothed out set of average values, so you don't need all the raw values that maybe made up that stream of measurements. Another good one is condition monitoring, and that's probably the most common use case where you're comparing the current value against a threshold. So you'd never want your temperature to go above 110, so let's raise an alarm if that ever happens so we can fix the problem ASAP. Now, there's a whole bunch of other common use cases. Now, I've had to squeeze it down into this slide, but I've got about 20 or 30 use cases collected from different customers, which I think of as distinct. You've got analysis of alarms. If 5 alarms go off in the space of 30 minutes, that probably indicates a bigger problem than 1 alarm going off every week. You've got anomaly detection. You're looking at the stream of measurements coming in, and you're looking to identify, based on maybe some historic analysis, whether those new measurements are within the expected bounds. Now, that's the technique we're going to use for PowerCo. Inside Cumulocity, you've got a few tools that allow you to achieve or to address streaming analytics use cases. You've first of all got smart rules. Now, they've been in the product for a long time. I'm hoping that most of you will have used them to some degree. They're really simple. The idea is to give a user that doesn't know how they work a really simple way to fill in a few parameters to attach a rule to a device, say, raise me an alarm or send me an email when my temperature goes above the threshold. And there are 11 rules in the box that allow for common use cases. But if you want to do something a bit more advanced, a bit more custom, then we give you some tools to do that. Analytics Builder is perhaps the simplest, where you've got a set of blocks. You can choose to build a model that represents your rule, and you can do something a bit more complex than you can with smart rules. You can do aggregation, you can do some alarm analysis, and you can combine lots of techniques into one rule, into one model. And if you really love your coding, then you've got 2 options. You can use EPL apps within the platform to write some custom code to do your analysis, or you can write your own custom microservice using Java, Python, the SDKs that Cumulocity provides to do the analysis in that microservice. We're going to show you what we've done with Analytics Builder today. So we wanted to write an Analytics Builder model that calculates the time to charge a device. So we looked at the incoming we looked at the event that indicated when the recharging started, and we looked at the event which indicated when the charging or the battery status was at a full level. And then we saved the difference between those two as a new measurement and pushed that back into the live data, into MongoDB, the operational store, so we can do further analysis on that calculated measurement later. And I wanted to highlight here that there was a new capability. We're always adding, I'm hoping you notice, we're always adding new capabilities to Analytics Builder and to Streaming Analytics. And back in December, we introduced a new capability that Analytics Builder, the input blocks, can take data from every device in one go. Previously, you had to identify the device that the model was linked to, or the device group, or the asset, or the smart group. But it was a predefined set of devices. Now you can have a model that works on every device. So you just create the model once, leave it running, and it picks up all the data coming in. Now it makes sense to filter it. So in this example, my model is looking at all the devices where the fragment and series represent the battery device with the battery charge level as the series. Now that new feature came out in December. It's available now. It allows you to create global Analytics Builder models, so give it a go if you haven't tried it already. And then we've got a second model. Now this second model takes as input the output from the first model. So the first model, if you recall, was calculating the time to recharge, time to charge the device, the battery. Now this model is taking that as the input. So we're taking in the input measurement, which is the charge time, and then we're doing some analysis on it to determine if that time to charge is a little bit different to what we expected. So because our analysis in this theoretical use case is a bit custom, we've created our own Analytics Builder block just for this use case using the tools that Cumulocity provides. Now the Analytics Builder block that we've created does a bit of linear extrapolation, and then it calculates the variance. So it's looking at the historical values. It predicts what the next value should be, and then it calculates the historical variance. And then using that, we can compare the next value that is happening in real time against the variance from historical analysis. And if there's a discrepancy, if the new value is outside those variance bounds, then we can raise an alarm. So the key thing I want to mention here is that this was custom logic. The tools that we had in the Cumulocity box didn't cover this use case, so we created our own custom block to do so. And you can, of course, do the same. The block that we've provided here is available in a GitHub repository, so you can go and check out what we created. Just a quick poll, if you don't mind. I'm hoping most people have heard of streaming analytics and smart rules. Analytics Builder is a bit less prevalent. So who has used Analytics Builder in Cumulocity? Oh, that's reassuring for me to see. So thank you for that. That was a good half of the audience. That's excellent. Thank you. Who knows about the ability to add custom blocks to Analytics Builder? A slightly smaller subset, but a lot of software AG hands there as well. And who has already developed custom blocks? I'm guessing that's the same subset. Okay, slightly fewer. Okay, that's good to know. So at least we know the capabilities there. And one final thing I wanted to share with you is that there's a great tool which is available inside the ecosystem. So if you go to the administration app for Cumulocity, look down the ecosystem pages, tabs, and you will get to see an extension called Analytics Extension. Now that Analytics Extension allows you, with the UI, to pull in custom blocks. Now it's been written by our professional services team within Software AG. It's not 100% official as part of the product, but it works, and it's great, and I use it all the time. And it allows you to type in or to enter the repositories in GitHub for you to for the extension to go and trawl, and the extension will then show you all the custom blocks in those GitHub repositories. Now it's pre-populated out of the box with the 4 repositories that we use most in Software AG. So you've got easy access to all the blocks that our professional services team have made available in those GitHub repositories. So if Analytics Builder doesn't do everything you want out of the box, there's a good chance that the problem has been identified previously, and our professional services team have added blocks to the repositories. So give that a go. Just a top tip if you use Analytics Builder and you want to try some of these custom blocks. So, Nick, do you want to please take over?
Yes, thank you. And just to add also that custom block that we showed right now in the presentation, the anomaly detection block, we made that available as part of one of the repositories that we maintain. So also this, the example of the anomaly detection block is available directly using the plugin, the ecosystem plugin. Okay, so back to our storyline with PowerCo. So what Rob showed is that with the sequence of those two analytics builder models, it's now, we have an always-on monitoring system, which is looking at the time to charge for the batteries, which is doing anomaly detection on that, such that rather than having someone from PowerCo always having to look at all of the individual dashboards of the connected devices, he can just have a look at a kind of overview dashboard where he gets an alarm list, which is then populated with alarms. And I know it's probably quite small to read and probably impossible to read, but actually what the alarm is, the actual alarm is saying is anomaly detected in battery charge time for device XYZ. Please follow up the deterioration of battery charging and plan an on-site visit to customer ABC to resolve the issue proactively. And so actually what we're leveraging here is the capability of analytics, and that's exactly our second hidden power, as to really make that, to turn that alarm into an actionable insight, such that someone from the field service team can just have a look at that alarm list, and based on that immediately continue with his work, like for example, plan that on-site visit to the PowerCo customer, and in such a way really provide proactive service capability, proactive services towards their customers. Of course, it's not just the field service engineers who get actionable insights from that. Also, the product development team of PowerCo has access to these dashboards and is now realizing, hey, it's rather a large amount of alarms which are being generated. Maybe there's actually something wrong with the whole set of this particular generation of PowerCo devices. So that's what they want to investigate in a bit more detail. So that's where I hand over to Chris to show how PowerCo got some more insights into this problem.
Thank you very much. So yeah, just to pick up on something Nick mentioned, we didn't really talk about scale. So PowerCo actually have hundreds of thousands of customers, potentially thousands of these devices out there, and they're all across the globe. So at the minute we've been quite operational still. We're flagging alerts up on maybe one customer's set of devices. And this is where Data Hub becomes very interesting in this area. So Data Hub is a chargeable add-on product. I hope most of you have heard about it. If not, you're going to now. But it does two things for us. One, it lets us take the data out of a Cumulocity tenant and put it in a data lake. A couple of reasons that's great. One, it's a lot cheaper to store it. It's in the factors of 1,000 times cheaper or more, depending on the data lake. And secondly, it puts it in a format that's actually much, much easier to work with analytics tools. So I will do a poll in a minute about analytics tools because I'm kind of curious. But that's the two main use cases. So we can now take this data out of the tenants, wherever those tenants are in Cumulocity, so maybe they're in China, Europe, North America, and we can now pull it all into one place, and we can use our analytics tools. So out there, we see a huge amount of Power BI usage, quite possibly because Power BI is nearly free. And we've got great integration with Power BI, and we've recently enhanced this quite a lot. We now have native connectivity. As some people know, and you can tell, we use a third party called Dremio for some of these parts. In our 10.18 release of Cumulocity, we've upgraded Dremio. We now have native connectivity in Power BI. You literally go in, Dremio software, give it the credentials for Data Hub, and you can connect. Also the same with Tableau. We see less Tableau users. It's a great tool, though, personally. I think I prefer it. but that also now has native connectivity straight into Data Hub. So you're not your data scientists potentially, just your analysts. Your good old-fashioned BI analyst can now get direct access with the tooling they already know and you've already purchased. And that's then starting to look from the product team, is now I can start to look across every one of those devices, wherever they're deployed in the world, and I can start looking at the trends. Well, how many times have we seen this? Have we seen this before? Have we seen it with different models? And they can start to analyze it and maybe looking at some other data around the bill of materials for those components. Is this a particular batch of our product? Or is it, we're talking about battery charging issues here, is it a battery from a third party that's a problem? So I can now start to scope that problem. And actually, do I need to do a product recall here? Or do I need to start proactively swapping machines out rather than reacting to the alerts that I'm seeing that the battery isn't charging well? This use case is actually loosely based on one of our customers who had a very similar problem with a component that they built into some of their devices. We don't want to name names, but we definitely steal the real-world use case. So a quick poll, who's using Data Hub? And I do see a few customers. Oh, yeah, okay. More of you need to use Data Hub. It's really cool. Come talk to us afterwards. Kind of makes the next question a little bit irrelevant because I do actually know you use a BI tool on top of Data Hub. I recall it's Power BI, or is it Tableau? Tableau, yeah. You are the minority in that, but it's a better choice of tool, personally. For those that don't have Data Hub out there, what BI tooling do you actually have? Because there's a lot out there. We don't want to compete with them. We definitely want to take an approach of embracing them. Anyone else using anything other than Power BI or Tableau? No, not a very live audience. If you don't answer the question, you don't get Guinness tonight, by the way. No, still no takers, okay. Taking that with Power BI, unfortunately, not Tableau, a step further, we have a community plugin for Power BI. So you can actually build a Power BI dashboard, and it doesn't actually necessarily have to have Cumulocity data in. You could build a Power BI dashboard with any data and Cumulocity data or other data. And we actually have a widget that allows you to embed it back inside Cumulocity. It's been around since 10.17, so it's there now, but with the improved connectivity, that's an even slicker workflow out there. But in a nutshell, what Data Hub is giving you is that ability to aggregate across all of your tenants, across all of the instances if you're a global organization, and get that data into the hands of people who can start looking at it, doing that long-term trend analysis, and not necessarily AI, but Data Hub is also a next step on the AI journey. You want to start training models on large amounts of historic data, you're not going to store that in Cumulocity. You want it in a format that's easy to work with from an analytics perspective. And I think we're back to you, Nick.
Yes, that brings me seamlessly to, let's say, the fourth hidden power of analytics, because the embedding of a Power BI dashboard into Cockpit really allows you to monetize on the data and the insights that you're getting. On the one side, it's about sharing the insights into the PowerCo organization, which is probably one of the typical use cases that you have with in your IoT program, is getting access to the data of your connected devices and look into how is my customer base actually using the device and then taking advantage of that. But on the flip side of that coin, you could also turn it around and make that data available again back to your customers. For example, sharing the data with your customers, or like Chris showed with the embedded Power BI dashboard, share the insights even towards your customers. So the fourth power of hidden power of analytics. Okay, so just to summarize, let's say our PowerCo case study. So we started from the challenge. We had the field service engineers who were reporting more frequently unsatisfied customers with a certain claim. What did this PowerCo do? They first looked at the data with the dashboards to get some more insights. But then what Rob showed, they leveraged analytics builder models to on the one hand side, really calculate an interesting key business metric based on the raw data that they were getting, and then actually perform an anomaly detection on that time to recharge to generate real operational insights. Then so the streaming analytics was used then also as an always-on monitor, triggering the alarms, and then in such a way PowerCo really got confirmation, hey, it's actually true what the customers are claiming or what our field service engineers are saying, and in such a way be able to actually handle proactively. With the data hub part, they were also able to seamlessly access all of the data from all of the connected devices, pull that into the connected BI tool of their choice, and then doing actually the detailed root cause analysis, possibly even, like Chris said, in combination with non-IoT data, because it's just one of the potential data sources within your BI tool. And last but not least, Chris also showed that ecosystem plugin to embed the resulting Power BI dashboard back into Cumulocity. So all in all, the benefits for PowerCo were that proactive insights into what was going wrong, having the product design team having insights into the root cause of actually what is going wrong and mitigate it for potentially the current generation or the next generation, and also inform their internal staff better, as well as potentially monetize some of the things. PowerCo is just one of the examples of customers leveraging those hidden powers of analytics. There's also a number of other customers in a variety of areas. Some of them which are also here on site at the conference, so don't hesitate to reach out to them and to listen to their stories on how they're leveraging those hidden powers. But ranging also in a variety of domains, from smarter remote monitoring to smarter field services, smarter product development, and even smarter device management. Okay, so to end of the presentation, the key takeaways. What are those 4 hidden powers of analytics? And on one hand side, it's that always-on monitoring. So with streaming analytics, you can really process all of that incoming data and then turn that into actionable insights. It's not just looking at the raw data on the dashboard, but turning that into actionable insights, into alarms, which means something for an audience within your organization or potentially within your organization. Also, it leads to increased awareness because you can really access the fleet-wide usage data and make it available for BI dashboards. And last but not least, it can really help you make some money out of the data that you're gathering, not only for internal purposes, but also monetize it towards your customers. A bit similar to what Paul was just mentioning in the presentation from Edwards Vacuum before. If you can show with the data the value of a potentially avoided incident or downtime, that's a really powerful mechanism to show the value that a solution like Cumulocity IoT can bring to your customers. And with that, thank you for your attention, and thank you, of course, Rob and Chris, for joining me on stage.
That was impressive timing, and we have an entire 10 minutes for questions, if there are any. Any of you have a question? Frank.
So I'm not really sure if that question is fitting into this session here, but in the past, the data hub was, it was not possible to limit the access to the data in the data hub if we're using, for example, a tenant as a multi-customer tenant, to limit the access to the data to, I would say, to maybe a certain asset group. Is that changing?
Not in the short term. But yes, I know what you're talking about. We don't support Cumulocity's role-based access control inside Data Hub. It's something we'd like to do, but it's not something we will get to in short term.
Okay. So because we are using
Yeah,
we have tenants for a certain customer, but we have also using
Yes.
one tenant for multi-customer,
Yeah.
and so that's a problem to use
We
Data
can-
Hub in this scenario.
Yeah, we're familiar with that use case, but yeah, it's something we would like to solve, and it is, I think, on our longer term roadmap. But we can talk about it a bit more offline.